Guide our leaders right. Help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow. And living just true and true. Great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Your Excellencies, very distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, please, you may please mute your mic once again. You're welcome to the Health Talk by the Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is on the theme, Demystifying the COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, this event has been put together by the Diversity, Inclusion and Community Department of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Abuja section. We've got two health professionals, Dr. Dan Gadzama, who is the Chief Consultant of the FCT Primary Healthcare Board, and Dr. EMMANUEL OKPETU, who is the Acting Director of PHC Kuje Area Council Health Authority, who will be speaking to us on this topic, demystifying the COVID-19 vaccine myth. Of course, once again, we've got several distinguished invited guests and personalities who have joined us here today, starting of which is our section chairman of SPE Abuja section, Mr. Risosul John Emezi. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us here today. We also say a warm welcome to our programs chair, Madam Amida Damadami, who is also here with us today. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us here. We say a warm welcome to the two amazing speakers, Dr. Dan Gadzama and Dr. EMMANUEL IROBOUDU OKPETU, who will speak when they have the opportunity to speak. We would like to start this event very quickly with an opening remark by the Inclusion, Diversity and Community Chair, who is actually the host of this event. So please, if she's online, we'd love to welcome Dr. Yetunde Alaidetan for her welcome address. Dr. Yetunde Alaidetan, please, the virtual stage is yours. Okay. Okay, Dr. Yetunde Alaidetan just joined. Of course, the Inclusion, Diversity and Community Chair. Ma'am, welcome, and please, at this point, you're please asked to please give us a welcome address, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. Please, the virtual stage is yours, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, just a minute, please. Okay. Can we all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I've been having network issues. That's why I wasn't able to join on time. Okay, so you're all welcome, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to this very timely and very apt event. This is actually an event that is organized by the Society of Petroleum Engineers, Abuja section. It's a health talk that is themed demystification of the COVID-19 vaccine myth. Now, to say that COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted our lives in virtually every ramification is merely stating the obvious. Again, there are issues revolving around the cure and prevention of COVID-19, which has been controversial, thus bringing a lot of misconceptions. And then these misconceptions have been perpetuated by individuals, religious leaders, political leaders, you know, and I'm sure many of us have seen all sorts of theories on social media concerning this COVID-19 vaccine. And this is causing a lot of people to avoid the vaccination. Now, the purpose of this program, actually organized by a great society, therefore, is to address the misinformation as regards the COVID-19 vaccine, and also to shed more light on how the vaccine works. I would want each and every one of us to sit tight and pay rapt attention. And I believe that we're going to gain a lot of things. And for those of us that are undecided whether to take the vaccine or not, I'm sure after this program, many of us are going to make up our minds, on what exactly to do, because now we'll be more informed concerning the vaccine. Once again, I would like to welcome everybody to this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. You've heard from the horse's mouth. There's so much to learn today. I asked earlier on that we give our take on the myths we have heard about the COVID-19 and the COVID-19 virus. We saw Josam in the chat section who said that he heard that COVID-19 vaccine purchased for Nigeria is 60% effective. Madam Amina Madami said she heard that drinking hot water clears the virus. And Josam just dropped a comment that Nigerians have developed immunity over the virus due to genetic transfer. Like diversion, inclusion, and diversity chair has said, there's so much to learn today. Very quickly, we'll move to the very next remark, which will be taken by the section chairman of SPE Abuja section, Mr. Arisoso John Emizi. Sir, the virtual stage is yours, sir. Mr. Arisoso John Emizi, section chair, sir. We see you're online.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Abuja section. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Good morning, sir.
Okay, is it time for my own opening remarks?
Yes, sir. We would love to hear your voice, your opening remarks, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this program. And thank you very much, Dr. Etunde, for driving this. As always, we appreciate you. I, for one, I appreciate you so much for doing all this to make sure that the section is vibrant. And it's actually a very, very great topic, because there's a lot to learn from this today. Demystifying coronavirus vaccination. Fear. So that's actually the issue. People are always scared of the unknown. But if you look at it clearly, you see that there have been so many pandemics. At the time, malaria was a pandemic. Yellow fever was a pandemic. And the latest one was, that's one before the coronavirus was, not the yellow fever. There was, can someone remind me of that one again? That came as a pandemic before this one.
Ebola.
Sorry. Ebola. Thank you very much. And then let's look at the coronavirus. It is here, and it's actually going, to pass. It's not going to last forever. There are days that malaria killed people. People got scared of malaria. The white man that came to develop Africa caught malaria. They were dying from it. But we had people in Africa that lived and survived malaria without vaccine, because their body kind of built up the immunity. So I want all of us to look at the coronavirus as something that will come and pass. It'll pass one day, but we have also observed that in the past, that this virus' most potent venom is actually fear. Fear is actually the most potent venom of this virus. And that's why I expect us to take out of this talk today, how to demystify this, how to cure people of the fear. In the beginning, when this virus started early last year, when it got into Nigeria, people that died actually died out of fear. Not because they couldn't survive it, but and then it almost carried a stigma. But right now, I'm sure today a lot of people are caught coronavirus, and they're out of it and going about their normal lives. So that's one step ahead in the positive direction. Fear has been conquered, but still there's fear there's a lot of conspiracy theories since the vaccine came out, about the potency of the vaccine, whether the vaccine actually stayed the length of time it's supposed to stay in incubation before actually being approved by WHO. But we should also know that WHO, being who they are, must have actually considered all the indices to be able to, approve of the vaccine being administered to humans. I, for one, have taken. And the day I took, or day after I took, actually, I think I got chatted with Dr. Yetunde on this issue, and I told her that I've actually taken my own vaccine, the first dose, actually. And then I'm waiting for the second dose in some weeks to come. So that I'll be completely immune for now, for, I think you have time expired before you take another one. So even though, simple and effective procedures like, sanitizing our hands and covering our nose with, which guards against this virus, you find out that as simple as they are, that still people still take these precautions without deeply believing that they are potent enough to take care of them. They still believe that they are vulnerable, even when they have to sanitize their hands 1,000 times a day, cover the nose, but they still fear about that. And as I say, the most potent venom in this disease is fear. The virus itself does not possess the kind of power, that people have ascribed to it, If not, they will have the simple covering of nose and washing of hands, sanitizing of hands, and washing of hands about 20 seconds will have actually, cured it. But then it's not. In those days when we were in school, we learned about vaccines. Vaccines are actually when you take the virus itself and culture it, and then administer it to human beings. It'll actually prevent, it'll start, preventing the disease from being able to incubate in you as a human. Us growing up, we played with a couple of things, roll tire, played in the sand, kicked football under the rain and all that. And then we were immune to all these things, all those infections and all those things that came as children. But look at this, my three little children that they came from the UK about 2.5 weeks ago with the mom. Well, 3 of them are down now infection because I was playing with dust and sand and with other children around them, because I'm currently in my village right now, where we came to celebrate Easter break. So you find out that when I told them, they should leave them because our body is actually getting immune to all those things. So those are a form of, vaccinations, natural vaccinations, where the body actually gets immune. And that's why you find out, even mad people, when they walk around the street, all those places that you wash around 1,001 times to eat or do anything, you find them eating from those places because our body have been immune over those things over the years. So let's demystify this fear. We are not even built to last forever. So I don't even know if you're afraid to even venture or try anything. I don't think you ever succeed, in any of those things that you're trying to do. So with these few examples I've given and all that, I'm sure the team today and the panelists are going to actually do justice to trying to convince people that it's a venture worth trying. You want to live long, but you don't want to venture into those things that make you live long. Thank you very much, Dr. Yetunde, and thank you very much, Abuja section. Thank you very much, our program chair, and thank you very much, every other person present today. I welcome all of you, and please enjoy this talk, and not only enjoy it, imbibe it as a way of life going forward, because we shall deal with this. Coronavirus will not defeat us in Nigeria and the world at large. Thank you very much, everyone, and welcome to this program.
Yeah, I would say we should give our section chair some virtual appreciation. Thank you so much, Mr. Aristotle John Emize, for being an amazing and phenomenal leader. Thank you so much, sir. Your Excellencies, very distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, we will be moving ahead to the very next item, which is the lecture by the speakers. The speakers have been made to understand that they have 30 minutes each. So please kindly spare 1 hour of your time for each speaker's lecture. Our very first speaker for today is a chief consultant, primary health care board. He was born on the 15th of October, 1973, where he attended Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and graduated with MBBS in 2013. In 2012, he qualified as a fellow National Postgraduate Medical College. He has a master's degree in public health and international course in health development with distinction in learning and communication skills from the Royal Tropical Institute, Amsterdam, the Netherlands, and has attended short courses in health systems development in Tokyo and Denmark. He was appointed consultant public health and community physician by the Federal Capital Territory Administration in 2013 and chief consultant in 2017. Currently, he works with the FCT Primary Health Care Board as the lead performance manager for Saving 1 Million Life Performance for Results program in the FCT, the state focal person for electronic management of immunization of data for COVID-19 vaccination, the coordinator for primary healthcare COVID-19 response. He's also a senior lecturer, public health department, Nile University of Nigeria. Dr. Gadzama served as the local working group coordinator, FCT chapter, in implementing multi-partner trust fund managed by civil society scaling up nutrition in Nigeria. And as a result of his excellent performance as the coordinator of the project, he was nominated to serve as the co-chairman of the Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition in Nigeria Executive Committee in 2017, and later nominated chairman until August 2020. Our speaker is married and blessed with 2 beautiful daughters. Your Excellencies, very distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, please grab your pens, grab your jotters, because for the very next 30 minutes, the Chief Consultant, FCT Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Dan Gadzama, has the virtual stage. Sir, please, open for you to speak, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, if you don't mind, I think there's a change in the arrangement of this presentation. We have arranged it such that Dr. EMMANUEL OKPETU will present the background information regarding COVID-19. Then I will present the myths and issues around vaccination of COVID-19. So if you don't mind, please, you can reverse the order. I hope that's okay.
It's okay, sir. It's okay, sir. Okay, of course, the very speaker who is going to start is the acting director, PHC Kuje Area Council Health Authority. Dr. EMMANUEL OKPETU has a 12 years experience in the field of public health. He's built on a first degree in medicine from the University of Jos and subsequent masters of public health from the Royal Tropical Institute, Amsterdam, Netherlands. He is a polio eradication volunteer and an alumnus of the Stop Transmission of Polio program, where he served as field epidemiologist with the World Health Organization in Ethiopia. He is currently the acting director of primary health care with the Kuje Area Council Health Authority. He's also involved in implementation research. He's passionate about health systems, strengthening and equity in health service delivery. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, help me welcome to the virtual stage, Dr. EMMANUEL OKPETU. Sir, please, the virtual stage is yours, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, and just in case there are those interested in my face, I have my video on. Good afternoon, all. I think I'll be sharing my screen on this. So a couple of I'll be giving a background and overview. A couple of the things I have on my slides may be repeated by Dr. Dan, but because he's going to dwell mainly on the myths, I will just skip through so that by the time he is presenting, he will be giving more of the explanation. So I will share my screen now. I hope I have sharing rights.
Yes, you have sharing rights, sir.
Yeah, okay. So. Yeah, is it being seen now?
Yes, we see it, we see you.
Yeah, so so that's why I said overview, myths versus facts, fears and concerns. Yeah, so as a background, of course, I wouldn't want to go into defining COVID per se. The opening remarks by the chair of the SPE seems to have provided a lot of details about how COVID-19 has devastated the world and some of the measures that we have taken as a global community to prevent it.
Excuse me, sir.
Looking at this,
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So please, may you put your slide to put your point on slideshow, please. So
yeah. Okay.
It's better. Not, yeah, it's not
okay,
slideshow.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So this is publicly available data, but as a background, if you look at it, it's colored, and the colors indicate something. The dark colors show countries that have, based on reports, very high burden in terms of COVID-19. And when you look at this global picture, it looks like Africa is completely spared, except maybe for South Africa. This may be a tip of the iceberg, but that will probably be a different debate or a different presentation. But it's just for us to know, based on what is reported, that the burden is more in Europe, America, and Russia, and then Middle East, and then Southeast Asia. But if you look at the overall data, globally, at least we've had confirmed cases in excess of 133 million. This is data available as at April 9th. And as at April 9th, the new cases were just 733,000. Deaths are still surging. We've had a total deaths of 2.8 million in total. And significantly, if you look at it, a total of 669 vaccine doses have been administered globally since the vaccines delivery started. Again, if you look at this situation, it also gives you, it sort of compares the world based on regions: Americas, Europe, Southeast Asia. Eastern Mediterranean is also part of, is largely part of Africa. This classification is based on WHO classification by their own, the way they organize their office structure. So, but if Eastern Mediterranean and Africa are in the same category, basically. Of course, there are a few countries in the Eastern Mediterranean that are in the Middle East. But if you look at it again, it again highlights the fact that cases in Africa, when compared to other regions of the world, are still are low. Yeah, so let's narrow it down home. A few people may be familiar with this dashboard from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, but it's good we look at it and see that it again highlights that we may not, when compared to other countries or to other regions, our cases may not be that high, but it's still a burden. We have lost at least 2,000 people by this chart, and we have had confirmed cases of 163,000 as at 10th of April. That's as at early this morning, updated data. So, and then when you look at the samples tested, this is also good that we take notes. We have tested a total of about 1.8 million samples. It is good to note here that there are repeat tests here, because there are people who have had to test multiple times, some who are traveling, some who were ill, so probably they were tested the first time and tested a second time to see if they have become negative. So this sample tested may not necessarily translate to number of people tested. So what is significant here is the confirmed cases of 163, over 163,000. As we speak, as at this morning, we still have over 7,000 people ill. Some are admitted, some are probably having mild stroke asymptomatic cases, and they may just be at home with awaiting to be negative, or staying out the number of days that will be assumed that have become negative. If there are questions, I would probably suggest that you either put in the chat box or you write it down. But before I leave this slide, you can see that the states with the highest burden remain Lagos, FCT, Plateau, and Kaduna in that order. And Lagos remains the epicenter in this regard. Yeah, so again, this is specific to vaccination. Looking at the global picture, this is the doses given. This is a little bit different from the just slight different. This is a different day, so that's why the number of doses given is slightly different. But the bottom line here is to compare the relevance of this, to compare Nigeria and other countries that have also commenced vaccination. You can see that in the United States, they are vaccinated as much as 175 million. Out of that, 66.2 million are fully vaccinated. That means they have taken 2 doses of the vaccine, where it is a 2-dose schedule, or the 1 dose for a 1-dose schedule vaccine. United Kingdom, 37, India, 94 million. So, but when you look at the global picture, again, only 2% of the world's population has been vaccinated. And that's quite low when we look at where we want to go in terms of herd immunity. Again, this is Nigerian's picture. So Nigeria has started the vaccination, and it's going to be in phases. 4 phases have been planned. So the first phase was planned for primarily health workers and other strategic frontliners, the security personnel, the leaders, both political, religious, and maybe community and civil service leaders in different spheres. They are planned, and the target is 1%. There's an assumption that this group of people should make up about 1% of the total population of Nigeria, and the total population of any state, and the total population of any local government. So by that's how a target was achieved, was arrived at, and that's it's less than 2 million people. So to date, close to half of persons targeted in this first phase have been vaccinated by this chart. However, it is good to note that just as the first phase targeting this 1% is being rounded up, opening is now being given for others who were not originally captured in this group to be vaccinated. So, so that means that any other person this may not be very clear, because I feel that one of the things that helps to address myths, especially myths within a highly scientific and intellectual community like the Society of Petroleum Engineers, is to look at the basics. And I know Society Petroleum Engineers may probably know some of these structures better than I do. They may be able to engineer some of these structures. So I just brought this slide to show you some of the vaccines. Basically, these are the major types of vaccines we have and how they were created, and to also show that some of the technology currently being used for the new vaccine that is raising questions and leading to some of these concerns, myths, and fears are developed from previous technology. Some of them are just an add-on, and they are or similar, or an advancement in technology from previous available technology. And when you look at, so there's what they call the traditional vaccines. There are vaccines that we used to know because those were the first set of vaccines. And the live attenuated is one of them, which means that it is the virus itself that is used to form the vaccine. Because the truth is that naturally our body responds to any infection. But what usually happens is that many a times, or sometimes depending on the strength of the infection, our bodies may not be able to overcome that infection with that immune response. And that's what leads to severe illness or even death. But sometimes we are able to overcome it without any treatment. We may fall ill a little, sometimes depending on how strong your immunity is against the infection you get. You may not even feel that you are ill. And so infections behave like that. So live attenuated mimic that same behavior of a natural infection. And what happens is that they weaken it and remove the part of the virus that is capable of making you ill and retain that part that is capable of eliciting the immune response. So which means that that virus, the natural virus, has two parts. One part that is there to kill you, but there's one part that the body recognizes and uses to muster a response to that. So more like an enemy soldier, or maybe Boko Haram trying to attack a military base. The military probably know the signal. They may have known the signal of Boko Haram, but Boko Haram may have other means of evading the military and attacking them. So, but if the military is able to recognize that signal, they could be able to defend themselves quickly against such attack. So to speak. So that's basically how this live attenuated is. So if you remove the capability of Boko Haram to signal themselves, and yet military is still able to identify them, but they cannot use their any other ways of attacking the military directly, then it means that anytime the military sees Boko Haram, they can defeat it without Boko Haram being able to do any. So basically, a live attenuated vaccine operates like that. So when it's introduced into the body, it can now help the body to be able to respond, because it tells the body this is what you recognize in the virus. So the body is already prepared before the virus comes in. So once the virus comes in, it already has soldiers ready to kill the virus before the virus can even use the parts that it uses to harm to operate. Basically, there is a killed part. So this killed whole organism is still the organism, but it is killed. But it has properties, with even though it is killed, to still elicit that immune response. If you look at this slide, you see that there are examples of some of this kind of vaccines that use this different kind of technology, and when it was first introduced. So if you look at the live attenuated, you have the influenza, encephalitis, rotavirus, BCG that is very popular, the varicella zoster, but it was first introduced with smallpox, and that remains the only disease that has been eradicated, the only vaccine preventable disease that has been eradicated in humans. So then killed, we have typhoid was the first, but you have others. Polio is in both. Polio it has both a live attenuated and a killed. Then we move to the one, so these are the very popular ones that people call the traditional vaccine, and people feel that this is what vaccines should be. They don't talk about other things. They feel that other things, but if you look at it, these are not the only two types. But you have toxoid. If you remember your tetanus vaccine, it's a toxoid. It is so the disease that it's attacking has a toxin. So that toxin is used to develop a vaccine that can elicit an immune response that will kill the organism. Then if you look at the others, we have a subunit, purified protein, polysaccharide, peptide. So these are it's sort of use recombinant, what they call recombinant technology. It reforms the protein or the polysaccharide of that offending organism, that such that when the body sees it, it is able to muster immune response as if it is the same live organism that is there, and is able to use that experience to fight the organism when it invades. And you can see the group of, you have even meningitis, some meningitis in that group. And then you have the virus-like particles. So you can see now, if you look at these virus-like particles, it takes a particle that looks like that virus that will make the body recognize that particle and elicit some immune response, so that when the real virus comes in, it will be able to also provide that same response. And when you talk about these viral particles, you have had a human papilloma virus vaccine, HPV vaccine, which is quite important for women of childbearing age to have. It had been introduced even in hepatitis B, this hepatitis B that is now very common. So, but you see, this virus particle is not too far from what we have now in these newer vaccines, because the newer vaccines sort of are similar to a sort of particles. You can actually say they are particles of the kind of the vaccine or the virus itself, in as much as they may have been genetically engineered or modified to have that particle. They have the outer membrane vesicle, usually from a bacteria, and it is so that it recognizes that outer membrane produced from bacteria. So it can also have the soldiers on ground to attack the actual bacteria. When it am I still? Hello?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Can somebody confirm if I'm still being heard?
Yeah, you're still here.
Yes.
Okay, good. Because my network is telling me that I have poor network. So let me be sure that it's still pulling through. Okay, good. Yeah. So so we have nucleic acid. No, before then we have the protein polysaccharide conjugates. We have Haemophilus influenza type B. So basically, this combines a protein and a polysaccharide that will still help the body to recognize its any organism when it comes. You have Haemophilus influenza type B. You have a pneumococcal type. You have typhoid too. You have one of the meningococcal vaccines. Then viral vector. Yeah. So we are coming down to viral vector, which is also being used now. But you realize that this viral vector was already introduced in Ebola. So an Ebola vaccine is also a very new vaccine in 2019. And the advances to get Ebola vaccine on board has been built on to have some of the COVID vaccine we now.
All right, I think his network is off. So, okay. I think we've lost him.
Yes, we've lost him. I believe he's trying to join us, and he'll be back anytime from now.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Let me just see if I can share this.
So if he's not back in probably 10 minutes,
Okay.
probably
Yeah. Let me just join, right?
on. Yeah, in 10 minutes, let's give him like 5 minutes. Let's give him 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, if he's not back, so you start with your own lecture, sir. Oh, Dr. Dan, will you go on?
Okay, let me just share my screen and start.
Okay. Share your screen.
Okay, still good morning. Sorry for the interruption. I'll just build on what Dr. Ima already started. Like he rightly said, it's going to be a lot of repetitions. And the myths are actually supposed to come from the audience, which I think 2 or 3 people had responded to that already. First of all, I would like to thank the Society of Petroleum Engineers for inviting us for this program. We're very grateful. You're not just doing this for your members, you're actually helping us in combating the challenges we're having in terms of hesitancy towards vaccine acceptability because of the myths and the misconceptions surrounding the COVID itself and the vaccine. So thank you very much for advancing public health practice in Nigeria and globally. Yeah, so we shall just look at the background, which Ima had talked about. Then we'll look at COVID-19 vaccines, which he has already started introducing to us. Then we look at vaccine myths and facts, and then look at the vaccination update, which fortunately he had presented some already. Then we summarize and conclude, then we take questions. Yeah, as we all know, there has been so much misinformation, resulting in rumors and misconceptions about the vaccine, and that resulted in distrust in government and its institutions. And most of the concerns are actually around the safety of the vaccine and the fact that the vaccine was rapidly developed. Okay, major concerns around vaccine safety and the fact that the vaccine was developed rapidly. And then the prioritization of the target group and whether Nigeria actually have the capacity for chain, to maintain cold chain. And then equitable distribution of the vaccine. This has been the main concern of people. We also have issues, a recent survey that was carried out by Royal College of General Practitioners. This was done in the US. The hesitancy is much more among the ethnic minorities in the US, especially the Blacks and the Asians. And there's also an unpublished report in Nigeria that showed similar pattern of hesitancy. And of course, this became a very serious problem in terms of vaccine coverage. Yeah, so COVID, I would assume we already know what the word COVID stands for. COVID means coronavirus disease that was discovered in 2019. That's just the simple meaning. And it is actually the same as SARS-CoV-2. Now, I'll take us briefly on this. Ima didn't talk about it. It is very important for us to understand that the coronavirus pandemic did not start 2019. We had SARS-CoV-1, which is the same coronavirus, but a variant, different variant that we had pandemic in 2002, which was in 17 countries and affected about 800,000 cases, 8,000 cases and 744 deaths. It was more lethal than the current coronavirus disease. And then we also have the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, that's MERS-CoV, that was in 2012. So I'm presenting this just to let us know that the COVID-19 pandemic is not really new. What is new is the variant of the coronavirus, okay? So right from 2002, there have been, efforts to develop the vaccine. So all the scientists did was to vary the vaccine. Instead of targeting, SARS-CoV-1, it's now targeting SARS-CoV-2. It means research has already been in advanced stage before now. Okay, just historically, of course, I don't want to bore us with this. The first case, was December of 2019, and then presently to where we are today. And of course, in Nigeria, and Abuja in particular, our first 3 cases were recorded in March 2020. So this has been the cases. Okay, so I'm presenting this so that we know that the virus is right here. It is in your domain, it is in your neighborhood, it is just close by, and anybody can be a victim. Okay, so this graph shows number of cases. It went down, and then this is where we are, 2021. It's much, much higher now because of the intense community transmission. Okay, male, female, almost the same, but more in men. And these are cases of fatalities, those that have died of the disease, and which is more in the age group. This is 50 to 54, have the highest number of people that died of the disease. Okay, of course, from there down, they have the highest. Then the younger age group have less mortality cases. Okay, I decided to bring in this slide to show, and so that you can locate where you are in Abuja. Look at the area council where you are located. If you are in Gogolada, Municipal, and Bwari, you are colored in red. Chances are that you have more chances of being, having contact with people with the virus, because we have intense transmission and many cases around this area. Kuje has the least. I think the more rural, the less the cases. Okay, then Kwale and all that. So these 3 area councils have the highest number of cases. Okay, so Dr. OKPETU has already talked about this, so I'll not waste time here. But to tell us that the COVID-19 vaccine help our bodies develop immunity to the virus without us having get infected. And the human body protects itself from germs through what? The immune system, what we call, of course, fortunately, we're all science background. So we macrophages, lymphocytes, the white blood cells generally. Those are the cells that are being stimulated whenever we are exposed to any infection. And there's what we call the T memory cells, which remembers a particular infection that an individual was exposed to, so that when next time the person is exposed to that, those cells have already produced antibodies that can attack that infection. So knowing that mechanisms, that is what the vaccines or the scientists use in developing vaccines. And this is, of course, inclusive of the COVID vaccines. So he was trying to explain, this is actually what Dr. Ima was trying to explain before we lost him, the different types of the vaccines and what component or the raw materials, so to say, used in developing the vaccines. So we have the whole virus vaccine, or what we call the inactivated virus. This is Sinovac and Sinopharm vaccines. And then we have RNA and messenger RNA vaccine. And this is the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Then we have non-replicating viral vector. This is the Oxford, AstraZeneca, and the Sputnik, vaccine. And then we have protein subunit vaccines. And these are the ones that have so far been approved by WHO and has already been administered globally. Okay, and these are their properties. Okay, so it is very important for us to know that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe and they are effective. This slide, I didn't update it, but as of last month, there are over 312 million people that have been vaccinated worldwide, at least one dose. And so far, there are no cases of very few cases of adverse reaction, severe adverse reaction, which is, of course, expected. In Nigeria, NAFDAC is the leading regulatory agency that has provided technical guidelines and rigorous scientific standards to guarantee safety of vaccines coming to the country. And COVID-19 vaccines administered in Nigeria presently has been approved by NAFDAC. Okay, so there is any vaccine, whether it is COVID-19 or the routine vaccines that we use for our children and other vaccines that enters the country without the authorization and approval of NAFDAC. Okay, so what are these vaccine myths and facts? Yeah, there's what we call infodemics. This thing is blocking my screen. Let me remove it. Yeah, infodemics. This is another form of pandemic, and that is what we are experiencing. Our chair, in his opening remarks, welcome remarks, told us about how people are dying because of what? Of fear. And that fear is essentially because of what we call infodemic. Okay? There is an avalanche of information and misinformation in the public domain. And the COVID-19 pandemic has generated a lot of misinformation, catching more than 2,000 rumors, conspiracy theories, reports of discrimination. And there are a lot of cases of denial and discrimination, reported even in FCT. In December 2019 to April, 2020, that was to last year, there was a research done in 25 languages across 87 countries. And about 26 episodes of violence related to stigma, such as a case reported in Ukraine, and also in Nigeria and other African countries related to what? COVID-19, simply because of what? Misinformation. Oh, this thing is cooking. Okay, response. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, sir. We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, my screen is frozen. The slide is not moving, so yeah.
So Afan, can you help share the slides? I'm sure you have a copy, so I think it'll make it easier.
Yeah, I can only share it when he exits.
I have to exit. Yeah, I have to exit. Yes. Okay. Okay, it's moving now. Good. Okay, so this we have so many, misinformation that COVID vaccination can kill you. COVID isn't real. COVID vaccine doesn't work. It's just like flu. Masks don't work. So many misinformation across. And the culprit, or the major culprit, I should say, is the social media. That's where such information is being spread. And if you have been following the news, especially international news, just I think precisely on the 25th of March this year, the US Congress, grilled the CEOs of Google, Facebook, and Twitter on the issues of fake news. On the issues of fake news. And he also challenged the platform to remove about 12 prolific anti-vaxxers from their platforms, which he said accounted for over 65% of vaccine disinformation, demanding a deadline of 24 hours. So this is what the global leaders are, particularly US government, is doing in order to reduce the issues of around vaccine hesitancy, and which is caused by misinformation using social media platforms. Yeah, so these are some of the myths. So we shall be going through some of the things that I was able to gather, the myths. Number one here is COVID-19 vaccines are not safe because they were developed so quickly. Like I earlier said, the vaccines have started, the development commenced long even before now, just some modifications, and then some stages were also accelerated. The COVID-19 vaccines are safe and have been approved or in the process of being approved by regulatory authorities in all countries. And so far, millions have been vaccinated. There was no shortcut taken, and a strict process of clinical trials and safety reviews were done globally. There was no kind of any misinformation as misleading the public. And then just to tell us that the traditional vaccine development pathway takes this kind of stage. Usually it starts with target discovery, validation, preclinical stage, manufacturing, development, clinical assay, and optimization. This takes like 3 to 8 years. And then we have what we call phase 1, safety, phase 2, safety / immunogenicity, and then phase 3, which is safety and efficacy. And then clinical trials takes 2 to 10 years, and then regulatory review 1 to 2 years. Okay. Now, what scientists were able to do this time is to integrate phase 1 and 2, or phase 2 and 3 approach to save time. So there was no safety compromise. And like we can see here on this slide, at the preclinical stage of COVID-19 SARS-CoV vaccine development, there were 140, candidate vaccines, 140. So by the time they moved to phase 1, that was reduced to what? To only 37. Okay, after screening, do immunological tests and all that. So after the next phase 2, it remained only 28, phase 3, 20, and so far only 4 have been approved for limited use. Okay, so this is the stages it went through. So there was actually a stringent scientific rigorous screening before we could reach where we are today. And it's important to mention here that every drug is in stage 4, which is surveillance. Every drug, the paracetamol you took this morning, your antihypertensive, they are all in stage 4. It means that drug, every drug is under monitoring for life. Okay, that is why you have some drugs after use for 20 years, they are being withdrawn. Okay, because if there are mild side effects, and then we monitor, and then we develop a better drug, and then remove those ones from circulation. So it's also applicable to vaccines. Now we also hear that once you get COVID infection, you can get COVID from the vaccines. Of course, you cannot get infected from the vaccines. That is really not true. None of the current authorized COVID-19 vaccine contains live virus. It's only the live virus that can infect an individual, okay? So it's just, you might experience mild side effects, such as fatigue, body aches, maybe fever, which is a normal reaction to any form of immunization, okay? We all take, some of us, not all, but we do take children for vaccination. And after vaccination, we encourage mothers and all that to give paracetamol because of the fever and all. It's just the same experience. Okay, so we also have that I have already had COVID-19, so I don't need to be vaccinated. Most authorities advise people who have COVID-19 infection to be vaccinated. But it is advisable that somebody, wait until after 90 days before you get vaccinated, because like we say, it is a novel coronavirus. We do not know how long that immunity that you acquire through getting infected is going to last. And so it is advisable to get vaccinated. At least we know the vaccines, immunity acquired through the vaccines will last for at least up to a year plus so far. Yeah, so the fatality rate of COVID-19 is low, so I don't need to be vaccinated. Okay, we saw the graph, the global distribution of the burden of the disease. We saw that it's less in Africa, but again, we need to be very careful. There's a caveat there because our testing level is not optimal compared to those developed countries. And then besides that, if you look at the age group in Africa, they are usually mostly a younger age group compared to the Western world. And like I showed the graph, the morbidity and mortality cases are more in the older age group. That probably shows, explains why we have less cases in Africa. So actually we need to be vaccinated because you can transmit our disease to your elderly ones and then your colleagues and all that in the office, at home, in workplaces, in the market, and so everybody needs to be vaccinated. Okay, there's no need for mask wearing and social distancing after receiving COVID vaccination. Well, vaccines are effective, but so far it is not proved whether it can prevent transmission to another person. However, if you are vaccinated, you yourself, you cannot or you will not come down with severe disease. Okay? And we say disease because somebody will be able to present with symptoms, signs, and all that. But once you are vaccinated, you may test positive, but you won't have signs and symptoms. So there's a possibility that that virus can still be transmitted. That is why people are, encouraged to continue with the non-medical measures until we reach what we call community immunity or herd immunity. At that time, we have 75 to 80% of the population that are already immune, so there wouldn't be any need to practice social distancing and all the other measures. The vaccine will alter my DNA. I think this is popular. The vaccine will alter someone's DNA. Of course, this is really not true. The vaccines approved for emergencies is messenger RNA vaccine, and when somebody is injected with that vaccine, the whole cell will just produce viral protein that triggers the individual's immunity, and then the body destroys it and it is excreted within 48 to 72 hours out of the body. So please, it does not enter into our DNA. It only triggers our immune system to produce antibodies against the virus. People with underlying conditions should not be vaccinated. Yeah, so this is the underlying condition. In fact, we encourage those with comorbidity. Comorbidity here means those with diabetes, hypertension, and all that, even HIV, to please take the vaccine because they are more at risk of severe COVID infection or COVID disease. Okay. However, those with known cases of hypersensitivity reactions, those ones, they need to see their own personal physicians and be guided properly. Okay. If anyone has hypersensitivity, you take a particular drug and you react adversely and all that, or you had vaccination before and you had adverse reaction, please don't take, just see your physician. COVID vaccines are not effective against the new variants. So there are different variants. Fortunately, the variants we have in Nigeria, the vaccines are effective against that one. The South African variants, and then some in the UK and all that. Those cases are still under investigation. And I think the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, they are really, really working hard towards that. And once they identify, they usually map it out and take the necessary measures, okay? But so far, the current vaccine, that is the AstraZeneca that we are using currently, is effective to some extent. I think it's up to 50% against the South African variant, but up to 70% to 75% against the common variant. Okay, this is very, very important for us to note, please. Severe side effects of COVID-19 variants of vaccines are common. They are not common, please. So far, we have vaccinated over 300 million people across the world. And there were very few cases of severe side effects, severe adverse reactions. And some were actually not even linked directly to the vaccines. However, you could have mild cases of reaction, which is normal, fever, rash, and all that. Okay, I think these are some of the things. So probably if there are other myths and misconceptions during the question Q&A, we could address them. So the update, I think Iman has already given this. His own is even more, updated. This is 1st of April. So he has given us that in Nigeria today, over 40% have already been vaccinated of the target population, please. The target population is about 2 million. That's 1% of the population. Okay, this is FCT. So in FCT, we're able to vaccinate up to 36,000 people. Over 36,000 people have been vaccinated in FCT. So I encourage you not to be left out if your organization actually wants, because there are some categories of organization that we still see them as at risk as a result of the kind of job you are doing and all that. So if your organization is interested in having such vaccinations in your offices and all that, you could contact us after the presentation so we can make appropriate arrangements that to reach out to you people. Okay, this is just to tell us the gender proportion. We have more males being immunized or vaccinated as compared to women. Yeah, so I introduced this few slides to tell us how effective the vaccines have been. It is very important for us to know that already people in the United States are already yielding the dividends of the vaccine. They commenced quite earlier in September last year. And already you can see from this graph, this is case before vaccination. Okay, this is the elderly, and these are younger age group, 18 to 24. These are cases, the older decline slower, but it's also peaking here. But this is when the vaccine was introduced. You can see a rapid decline, and then you can see the elderly group, which is the blue color. I hope my color is correct. Blue or green, I don't know. This is the color on top here is higher, and then the pink color below. When you immediately introduce the vaccine, even though there's a general decline in cases, but that of the elderly declines so sharply and even more than the younger people, because the younger people, when the number of younger people vaccinated were less compared to the number of elderly people. Okay, so this is very, very important for us. Similarly, the same thing, number of mortality from the disease, number of people dying from COVID infection or COVID-related disease. You can see the elderly were more before vaccination, see, compared to the younger age group. Now, immediately they commence vaccination, you can see there's a rapid decline, and the elderly, the number of elderly dying is even much less now compared to the younger people, because the priority, the top priority was elderly people at the commencement of the vaccination exercise in the US. Okay, this is similar. This is just to tell us and to explain to us how effective and important the vaccination exercise has been. And of course, this is the results. And we are hoping in Nigeria, by the time we commence second round and then we go to the second phase of the vaccination, we should be able to demonstrate such results not quite long from now. Okay, this is the same thing. All right, so to show leadership, this is the rollout of the vaccination exercise in FCT. And you can see the Minister of FCT, Minister for State, and then we have, this is the WHO State Coordinator for FCT. Okay, and then of course this is WHO coordinator receiving her own job. Okay, yeah. Okay, this picture is not too clear, but this is the paramount ruler of Kuje Kwali Area Council, who is the chairman of traditional chiefs in FCT, receiving his own job. And this is the executive secretary of the Primary Healthcare Board. Yeah, this one expressly gave me his permission to please use his picture. This is Dr. Agawa, our former director of clinical services, Michael Agawa, receiving his own job. Yeah, so to also summarize and conclude that the COVID-19 is safe and effective. It is a game changer in the fight against the virus. But vaccination hesitancy is very high because of myths and conspiracy theories issues around 666. I've heard about that, surrounding the virus and the vaccine itself, even among the elites. Of course, I would like to remind us of Galileo. You people have done physics, you are engineers, so you know physics very well. Galileo was jailed for his research by saying that the earth is what? Is round, okay? And today, again, of course, the religious people and other people will always challenge science, okay? And we must insist as scientists on getting facts rather than just relying on conjectures. Most of the things we get on social media are just people's opinion and all that. You as a scientist, you need to verify the source before sharing. I therefore call upon all of us to be what? Ambassadors and champions of the fight against the pandemic. We should spread accurate information so that we can conquer the virus and hopefully go back to our normal life. I'm sure everybody is kind of constrained and nobody is happy with the current situation. So I want to thank you very sincerely for your attention. So this is, if you want accurate information and all that, you can visit this website. You can also visit WHO website. I didn't put it here. And then you can also visit CDC to get more information about the virus, the vaccines, and whatsoever issues you have. So thank you very much. Over.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really enlightening and of course educating. I made to understand that Dr. Emmanuel is back. Dr. Emmanuel, please, once again, you can continue from where you stopped, sir. Please, if you have questions, kindly drop your questions in the chat section. Once Dr. Emmanuel is done, we will attend to all of the questions. Thank you. Dr. Emmanuel, the future stage is yours, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So I also have a couple of slides, probably because I've listened to Dr. Gadzama's presentation. And so I won't spend much time again to conclude my slide. I've joined, I think the problem is my laptop, I don't know. So I've joined with my phone now. Yes, so I will share again from my phone the presentation. So just give me a couple of seconds so that I will do that. Meanwhile, it's been...
If you want me to share your slide here, I can share
Good, please go ahead and share to make it faster for me, better. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So.
Okay, I'm sharing it now. Okay.
Yeah, so I was on slide 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on slide 8.
Okay. Going there. Can you see it, sir?
Yeah. Still, yes, I can see it. Yeah. So I won't talk. Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
So this slide 8. So these are the vaccines. Dr. Gadzama has also talked about them. This these are the dose schedule. If you lose only Johnson & Johnson, there is 1 dose there. And this also talks about the storage. So you see Oxford is 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, and it can be for 6 as much, can stay in that temperature for as long as 6 months. And this is significant because when people start asking why we chose Oxford in Nigeria, these are some of the considerations in terms of the small compound, the storage facilities we have. So we can skip. Next slide, yeah. So Dr. Gadzama has also talked about all of this, which have to do with myths, but I particularly brought in this slide because I wanted us to reflect on the myths we had when we were not talking about vaccines. Now the same things are moving on to issues about vaccines. These are the issues we had when we had problems with how transmission was going, whether blacks were immune, whether drinking water could prevent hot water and all of that. So if chloroquine and methicillin, so the myths evolve and they keep evolving and new things keep coming up, and they are the same set of myths are being translated to the vaccines. Next, please. So these are the actual myths about the vaccines. I wanted to highlight the issues about the adenovirus that was being used and the mRNA. Dr. Gadzama has trashed this, so we can move on. Yeah, so this is just a schema for engineers like you. I'm sure you probably, just to say that how the adenovirus DNA works. It goes into the cell and activates the process of mRNA that now translates the production of the spike protein, which will now be the source of recognition of the virus when it infects. So it's able to produce that virus, recognize it, builds antibody against it, so that when the actual virus comes in, it recognizes the same way it recognize what is produced by adenovirus carrier DNA. Next, please. Yeah, we can skip this. These have all been talked about. Just go to the next slide. Now, this is virtually the same myth. You see, there has been campaign against those myths. I just wanted to highlight that this is what the MPACDA is doing. They did their own social media campaign, and these have also been produced in hand flyers to address some of the myths that are flying around, from the safety of the vaccine to the if you are infected, if you still need to be vaccinated. Yes. So next, please. Yes, so this is one other thing. So people are asking, we have been able to say the short-term effects, brief, that, but what about the long-term effects? But from experience, this is a message that they are putting out in Australia to show that some of the concerns we have here are global to a very large extent. But the truth is that from experience with vaccines, long-term effects are very rare. However, if you look at the stages of the trial from this phase 1 before we get to the phase 4 now, there are people who have stayed long enough for 1 year that have had these vaccines, and we have not had long-term effects that are worrisome. So it means that just like with many other vaccines, long-term effects are not a problem. It is the short-term effect that is why the vaccines can be rolled out after the phase 3 trial. We don't need to wait for 2 years or so before we will now roll it out to the general population. Next, please. Yes, so these are ingredients. These are some of the concerns too. These are some of the concerns in terms of what are they made of. People are scared that it might be something that they are not, maybe their religion or their culture don't agree with. So, but there are basic things. You see, lipids, salt, sugar, emulsifiers for the Oxford. Of course, in some of the vaccines, there may be a very little amount of alcohol, which some people may have concerns about, but they are not significant enough. They are just more like additives to support the stability of the vaccine. Next, please. Yeah, so I added this slide so that it will give us a picture of what it's like to bring in a new innovation, what it takes, how the curve of people accepting what's called the adoption curve. And I'm sure some people may be familiar with. So it's not different from what is happening here with the vaccine rollout with the new COVID-19. It's a new vaccine, it's a new virus. So there are people who were innovative to produce the vaccine. So of course, there are a minority of the population who are involved in this process in terms of the developing the idea, developing the technology, going to the lab. That's just about 2%, 2.5% of the population. But you have a very significant number that are either late or laggards, that they call them laggards. They are not interested. But of course, we have the early adopters and the early majority, probably because they are scientists who may have been involved in the research, or because they have not had any contending influence from either religion or cultural beliefs that may make them skeptical. So it is natural what we are seeing, that people will accept at different stages of the rollout. Next, please. Yeah, but what is significant in that adopter is that if you're able to convince the late, if you're able to present facts to some of the late adopters, they are likely to be won over to those who will accept much earlier than they would have. And even some laggards can be brought in. And to emphasize our role in stemming the tide of disinformation, misinformation, and the infodemic that Dr. Gadzama emphasized, there are individual roles we can play. And if you look at this schema, it's obvious what each of us can achieve if we stop sharing unverified news, unverified, especially on social media. And say this person sent a rumor to the group chat, and if everybody in that group chat takes responsibility not to share it without verifying it or interrogating it, it ends there. And that is how simple it is. But if one person goes, it will take another life somewhere else. Next, please. So basically, vaccine saves lives, and particularly at every age, not only for children, because that's another problem sometimes. People, when they hear vaccines, they think only of children, but forget that we have had vaccines that have been for everybody. Yellow fever, meningitis vaccine, even measles vaccine is given to adults in many cases. So let us support vaccine. Let us help to fight misinformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been an engaging, of course, a very, very exciting lecture. Of course, like we had mentioned earlier on, the two lecturers are open to answering questions you may have. So right about now, we are giving the floor to everybody that may have questions to ask. And of course, to start this question and answer session, we will be receiving or taking a question from the convener of this event, Dr. Yetunde Alaiditan. Ma'am, please, the virtual stage is yours for your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Akpan, for that. I would like to also say, use the opportunity to say a very big thank you to our resource person. I think they've done justice to the topic. But I have a few questions here. It's about 3 questions, but kind of they're all like connected. First of all, we know that generally for vaccines, they're supposed to not have their cold chain broken. You know, how are we sure that some of these cold chains of this vaccine are not broken so as to preserve the potency of the vaccine? You know, because we know that in Nigeria we have epileptic power supply. So how are we sure that some of these vaccines don't even have their cold chain broken? And then secondly, my concern also is about herd immunity. We know that in Nigeria, we have about over 200 million. The population is about 200 million plus. And now we know that the fraction of those that have been vaccinated is not even up to even up to 0.025. So I don't know how many people need to be vaccinated for we as Nigerians to build herd immunity. Thirdly, concerning blood clots, personally, I'd had the intention of having my own vaccine this week, but my concern is just when I was about to go, I heard, I think, I forgot which country actually, they had to stop their citizens from taking a particular type of vaccines because some of them were reportedly having blood clots. Then my last question is also, what is the advantage of the Johnson vaccine, which is just a single dose, over the other vaccines that are double doses? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Dan, would you be taking that? Okay, or Dr. Emmanuel?
All right, thank you very much. That was, it shows that you were following, and it's also very, very important questions you've asked. Let me start with the cold chain issue. The cold chain issue is probably one of the reasons why the AstraZeneca vaccine has been chosen in Nigeria, because our immunization system in the country has the capacity to maintain that 2 to 8 degrees, temperature. Probably a lot of people don't know, in all the states, we have what we call the state cold chain rooms or houses. In FCT, we have the capacity of the cold chain system that can maintain vaccine even at minus 45 degrees. I'm sure you're surprised to hear that. Minus 45. If you're team ones or anybody, I can take them to our cold store in FCT and at Apple, at Apple here in Abuja. So we have the capacity for that. And all the states, UNICEF in the last how many years have really worked hard in supporting Nigeria in the supplying cold chain equipment across the country. So in terms of cold chain, I don't think we have much challenges, except where you talk about the other AstraZeneca where you have minus 75. That one is only the national cold store in Lagos that we have minus 75. And then we're talking about what again? Let me start with blood clots. The blood clots thing is, if you've been following the either WHO or even the global news, at the initial stage, they suspended the vaccination using the AstraZeneca because WHO has put a system in place for serious surveillance to make sure that every side effect is reported promptly, and that is why they were able to pick those things. But after thorough investigation, it was concluded by the same European scientists and all that blood clot was not really directly related to AstraZeneca. That the number of cases found among those vaccinated is even much lower compared to general population. The number of cases in those vaccinated is less than number of cases in general population. That is to say, the vaccine cannot be directly linked to that this thing. So you can see that some countries, France and others, immediately resumed the vaccination with the same vaccine. Okay, and then we have issue of advantage of Johnson & Johnson over other vaccines. Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson is only once, and of course, vaccination is very, very expensive exercise. You spend a lot of money on logistics because to reach every person, it's a lot of money that you pay. So if it is once, it means what you will have spent, 2 times, you only spend it once. The only disadvantage it has is the lifespan in under 2 to 8 degrees is just 3 months. It means you must exhaust that consignment within 3 months so that you can end up having losses if you are not able to catch up with that. But AstraZeneca is up to 6 months, which is twice the time you have to plan and to roll out the vaccination exercise. And then in some places, the Johnson Johnson also has a bit higher number of, what do you call it now? The effectiveness in terms of protection compared to the AstraZeneca. But I think until recently, the Johnson Johnson trial was not done globally, but I think recently they have done it globally now. Otherwise, you will question the external validity. By that, I mean, okay, this is effective in America, but we are not in America. Can we infer that it cannot be also effective in Nigeria, in South Africa, and all that? But I think they have done that already now. Okay, so now talking about herd immunity, we need to vaccinate at least 70% of the population. That is it. So 70% of 200 million people. Yeah. So the first phase is 1%, which is the frontline health workers, the frontline workers, the military, the airport workers, the media, and so many other people. And then we have phase 2, which is coming up immediately after this, which will involve other age group and everything. So we have up to 4 phases. So we are hoping that by the time we vaccinate or we roll out that 4th phase, we will have covered 70 to 80% of the population. And that will be done maybe till end of next year. Okay. If there's any other thing, I think Dr. Ima can add to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, there's a question on the chat from Kyle. Kyle says, if malaria was epidemic in the past as COVID-19, why is there no vaccine for malaria? Meanwhile, malaria kills more than COVID on daily basis.
Yeah, this is very important question. This question kept coming up and all that. But who is producing the vaccine and who is malaria killing? You have to ask that question also. Malaria is not a Western problem, is it? It's not. No. And we are not producing vaccine. I think what I should hear is, why are we not producing our own vaccine? I've not seen anybody asking that question. Okay. So in all, even in health, there's what we call, there's politics also. COVID-19, it's a global problem. Malaria is a regional challenge. Okay. And until we develop our own system and be able to produce our own vaccine. Otherwise, the issue of malaria and all that is a different thing entirely. However, there's effort being going on we have Tropical Research Institute in Gambia, which is African Tropical Research Institute. They are into research in developing malaria vaccine. They have tested some and all that, but it hasn't been successful yet. But research is still ongoing. Okay, so probably we can push and advocacy to the UN, to WHO, and all that to see if the West can, intervene in producing vaccines for malaria. I think that would be my take on that.
Thank you, sir. And then we have a question in the chat from Aliyu D. Aliyu. I read, I watched a video where the CEO of the company that produces the AstraZeneca vaccine, where he was asked why he was yet to take the vaccine. His answer was that he's still very strong and healthy and not within the age group that requires immediate vaccination. For me, that answer was very porous and tantamount to serious wrong signal to any discerning onlooker. What do you have to say to this, please?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah, maybe I can come here. I can come here. Can I come in here?
Dr. Emmanuel, okay, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but I didn't get who you said so, but I got the question. Okay,
according to him, he said the CEO of the company that produces AstraZeneca vaccine.
CEO. Okay, I get it. Okay, I remember the scenario. Yes. Yeah. So I don't think that was exactly what he said, if I followed him right. But what I know happened then was that it was not his turn yet, and he didn't want to beat the line. And he eventually got the jab when it got to his turn.
Exactly.
So it's not as if he was avoiding taking the vaccine for any reason. He was not among the priority group. Even the Prime Minister of the UK, Britain, didn't get it at the time they were giving frontline health worker. He waited for his turn based on prioritization. So that is what happened. So I think it was misquoted or quoted out of context. That is one. Then I also want to say something about the issue of vaccines for malaria. In addition to what Dr. Gadzama said, so organisms are different. If HIV ravaged globally, but they have still not been able to produce an HIV vaccine. So in as much as I completely agree with Gadzama on the issue of politics and funding, funding is easily attracted for the things that affect developed economies, just like you see, because COVID ravaged their economy. So they saw the potential of it completely destroying their economy. So they mopped up funds to address this issue. And that was a huge motivation for many big pharmaceutical companies to go to work. And there were already existing technology that they could leverage on to quickly produce this vaccine. However, for malaria, all he said is right about it's no longer a big problem in the developed economies. But there are other issues that have to do with the nature of the organism, which makes it difficult to produce a vaccine against it. Plasmodium falciparum is a parasite, it's a protozoa. So, and I don't know if there has been any protozoa vaccine. So it has proven very difficult. There is what they call there's a particular product that is being called a malaria vaccine. I think is it ATS? I've forgotten the full name of the acronym, but it's being used. It has some level of effectiveness, but it's not. It has not proven very useful at large scale. It has been tried in some parts of Africa. There are persons who use it when they travel out of Europe, but it is not classically. Has not been able to meet the criteria of a vaccine. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have also pumped some money there. So it's not as if they have completely been out. And like Dr. Gadzama said, the Gambia research is also trying to add something. But significantly, apart from the issue of funding, the issue of it being difficult, because it is not everything that scientists succeed at the same time. HIV is also another. Ebola has just gotten a breakthrough of recent in 2019. So sometimes it is just not that there's a deliberate selection of no attention to it. They are just evasive, and they may not also get the attention because the people who bring out the money have conquered it in their own territories. Then I will just mention something on the cold chain. I may have missed it, but I know the Gadzama talked about that we have very reliable cold chain at the state level, at every state. But beyond that, we even have a cold chain system that takes our vaccine to the communities, to the health center, to that rural place. We have systems that can maintain these vaccines between 2 and 8 degrees centigrade without any problems and without breaking the cold chain. And this is what we use in our polio eradication strategy. Of course, there are challenges, but just to let you know that in every local government, you have a cold chain facility. And in many health facilities, we have a solar cold chain facility that doesn't really depend on electricity. And when we need to take vaccines to the rural areas, we have cold boxes and vaccine carriers that can maintain the cold chain for a minimum of 24 hours for the vaccine carrier and as long as 4 days for the cold boxes. Yeah, over.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Aliyu, I believe your question has been thoroughly dealt with. I saw you raising your hands, Aliyu. Okay. Aliyu, okay, you raise. Okay, can you speak, Aliyu? Please, can you speak? Please.
Yes, I just want to throw more light on this issue. Just to give a perspective and maybe an example, when the CEO of when Mercedes-Benz produces a bulletproof car, the CEO entered that car when the glasses and machine guns are thrown at him, and then the bullets were there, and he led by example. So I think for me, for the CEO of AstraZeneca to say that it's not his turn, I think is not enough. His vaccination is supposed to be largely symbolic and to boost morale, to instill public confidence on people. But for him to come and say that it is not his turn yet, honestly, that answer is not convincing. I know it's not your fault, but I just thought that you be able to provide a more cogent reason why he is like trying to wait a little. If you ask me, I will say that the man also is trying to wait a little and see what's going to happen to those who have been vaccinated first before he too can go for vaccination. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so let me quickly just give a quick, yes, I completely agree with you that the optics are not right. It may be, we can call it a gaffe, but the truth is that he came out and he eventually actually got it earlier than he should have gotten it because of these questions that came up. You can follow the trail. I followed it up. So it may have been a gaffe, but it's also not possible for us to assume or to conclude that he was being afraid. It may have been a mistake on his part for not coming up, but he may have been honest too. So it's a 50-50 thing, but the optics are not good, and I can understand how you.
Oh, have you lost him? I think you've lost.
Okay, I think we've lost him. Yeah.
Okay. So we will head over to the very last question I see on the chat, which is from Shugra Mahood. She says, is there no other addictive that would serve instead of alcohol, knowing that some segments of the society have ethical issues against alcohol?
All right, thank you. Good observation. Yeah, so I think we should understand the alcohol as per chemical name for a group of, what will I say, a group of, is it elements now? Okay, so the alcohol somebody drinks is different from the alcohol we are talking about here. We have ethanol, methanol, and the rest of them, okay? And the popular alcohol that we drink is actually ethanol and all that. So when we say alcohol, it's not the alcohol that people drink. And alcohol is very effective anti-viral, and it's also a preservative. So you find it in most drugs. You will find ethanol. Alcohol, but not ethanol per se, or the alcoholic drink that people think of. So they are not the same. And I think a lot of the majority of the public understands that. Okay, so it's not the same as the alcohol that we drink in terms of religious perspective. Yeah,
okay,
so that's what I have to say. That, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much to our distinguished speakers. I believe all participants have enjoyed and of course have learned something new. So please kindly go back and spread the good news of everything you've learned today, that of course the COVID-19 vaccines are 100% safe to use. Very quickly, we'll be moving to the very next item on our agenda, which is the closing remarks by the program's chair of SPE Abuja section, Madam Amina and Madam. The virtual stage is yours, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this very important session. It has indeed been a very enlightening and educative session, and I urge each and every one of us to help in busting all the myths. At least we've learned a lot, enough from the two speakers about all these myth busters to be able to do a very good job of busting some of the myths that are being bandied around. I've really learned a lot. about this COVID vaccine and all of that. I'm still like the MD of CEO of AstraZeneca. I'm also waiting for my turn to get my own jab, but I'm not dodging it. I'm just waiting. It's not yet time for me. I'd like to thank, on behalf of the chairman of Abuja section, I would like to thank our important guests who made time to join. I would particularly like to thank Michael Oyeri, our Lagos section chair, Magdalene Umo from Warri section. Thank you for the support and for joining. I'd like to thank my senior from secondary school, Mrs. Trudy Coker, who made time to join. Another very good senior to Sugra Mahmood, who is a state coordinator of Ariwa Development Initiative. Thank you very much for joining. Mrs. Chioma Igwenagu, Value Chain Magazine, our very supportive media house. Thank you very much for joining us. And all the other very important guests that joined us, we're truly grateful. And we urge you to please take your vaccines, encourage people around you, and then help us to spread the good news. The two doctors in the house, Dr. EMMANUEL and Dr. Dan Gadzama, thank you so much for making out time. And thank you for appreciating the little effort we made towards helping you to enlighten people on this. And we really hope that it will make an impact. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Apan, our moderator and our chief admin of SPE Abuja section, thank you for always doing a good job. To the rest of the team who put together all this, chaired by Dr. Yetunde Aladeton, well done and kudos. Let's keep doing more for Abuja section. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Truly grateful. Thank you.
Please, you should head over to the chat section to give our programs chair a virtual appreciation. Thank you once again for participation. And please be informed the SPE Abuja section has an event which holds on the 21st of April, 2021, as you see on your screen. It is a distinguished lecturer program on the theme using scenario planning for decision making in the energy industry. It will be a pleasure once again to have you join this educating event. Once again, thank you for joining us. And before we go, please, may we all turn on our camera for a screenshot photo, please. Turn on your video camera, please, for a screenshot photo, please. Turn on your video camera, and then let's have a screenshot photo. Let's see everybody that joined. Let's have a screenshot for our publicity team. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Yes, please turn on your camera. I can see all the beautiful faces that joined. Turn on your camera, please. Okay, turn on your camera. I'm still waiting for everybody to turn on their camera, and then you can smile. Let's have a screenshot. I can see the faces smiling. I can see the faces smiling. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this event. Thank you for joining, and of course, to have a lovely afternoon. Bye for now.